Who is Mark Fowler Jr. in EastEnders? Sharon Watts learned that Grant had spoken to her best friend and Mark's mum Michelle Fowler to offer his condolences over the death of her brother Martin Fowler. As Sharon and Grant said their goodbyes, she asked if he had been tempted to reach out to Mark Jr., to which he said he would wait until Mark was ready to build a relationship with him. Who is Mark Fowler Jr. in EastEnders? Mark is the son of show stalwarts Michelle Fowler and Grant Mitchell and was the result of a fling the pair had back in 1995. Prior to leaving Walford for the US, Michelle only told her brother Mark Fowler, who her son was named after, of her baby's real paternity. After being born off-screen in 1996, Mark Jr. had grown up believing his father was a man called Tim. Fast forward to 2016, and Phil Mitchell found a letter in then-wife Sharon's handbag addressed to his late mother Peggy Mitchell. It revealed that Grant was Mark's real father. After Mark Jr. arrived in Walford, having been contacted by Phil, Sharon and Martin begged Phil not to reveal the truth to Grant. While Grant did find out, they were all forced to step in when Mark started getting close to Courtney Mitchell, not realizing they were half-siblings. Grant debated telling Mark he was his father but eventually decided against it before leaving Walford. However, Mark had already worked out the truth and returned to the US after Sharon warned him not to get involved in Grant's life. This week, it was revealed that Grant had no clue that Mark had found out about his paternity. And he seemed bruised that his son had not attempted to contact him over the last 9 years. Who played Mark Fowler Jr. in EastEnders? Ned Porteous may now be best known for his role as Emmerdale's Joe Tate. But his first soap role came when he landed the part of Mark in 2016. Ned said at the time, "Being part of two iconic families and the longest-kept secret in EastEnders history is beyond exciting. I'm honored to be here and can't wait for viewers to properly meet Mark Jr." Ned was only on screen for a month as Mark and went on to be cast in Emmerdale as Joe in 2017. His first stint in the Yorkshire Dales lasted just over a year. But he made a shock return to the ITV soap over Christmas, with Joe now involved in a steamy affair storyline with Dawn Fletcher. All EastEnders spoilers next week as traumas get worse. A shell of herself after what she went through with Reiss, Bianca Butcher is struggling to leave the house. But when a situation forces her hand, will things be made worse or will it be the turning point she needs? Elsewhere, Zach Hudson is about to get the daddy of all shocks. And Sharon Watts struggles with her secret, while Kat Slater is on eggshells again. Monday, March 3rd. Sharon is horrified to realize Bianca knows her secret, so she decides to take control. Sharon steels herself to be honest, but circumstances prevent her from speaking out. Following her failed attempt to come clean, Sharon talks to Zach about her secret when she realizes somebody has overheard their conversation. Later, Barney reveals to Zach that he was the mystery eavesdropper. Bianca is struggling and can't bring herself to face the outside world. George tries to reassure Bianca that she is not responsible for what happened. But she continues to feel like a prisoner as she can't bear to go outside. Later, Kat visits her friend to offer support as Bianca begins to open up about her trauma. Elsewhere, Kat and Alfie are proud of Tommy as he looks for ways to help a friend in need. And he explains that his online mate was the one who came up with the idea of a support group. Later, Alfie and Tommy host a lads' night for their struggling pal. Tuesday, March 4th. Zach promises Sharon he'll find a way to stop Barney from speaking out. At Harry's barn, Zach confronts Barney, but their conversation takes a turn when Barney starts bleeding from the wound that he sustained during the Vic explosion. Zach joins Nicola and Teddy at the hospital, where the medics are looking at Barney, but a conversation about blood groups sparks his suspicions. Later, having had a word with the nurse, Zach confronts Nicola to ask if he is Barney's dad. The Knights try to coax Bianca into going to Beale's Heels, but she gets overwhelmed and can't leave the house. Kat realizes that Bianca is struggling with her fear and gives her some advice. But when Bianca gives her suggestions a try, things don't go as planned. Kat and Alfie are delighted when Leslie, their social worker, tells them Tommy can come home. Kat and Alfie have a frank talk about the challenges they may face with Tommy back in the fold. Elsewhere, Harvey's good deed for Lily massively backfires. Wednesday, March 5th. Zach demands answers from Nicola, who admits he's Barney's biological father. Reeling, Zach heads back to Walford to drown his sorrows. His day goes from bad to worse after a phone call from Whitney. Kojo tries to support Bianca and heads over to Beale's Eels to get some food for her. However, when some lads kick off at Kojo, Peter sounds the alarm, and Bianca has to fight her fears to be there for her friend. Kat and Alfie welcome Tommy home, and it's not long before he's asking to go online to talk to his friend. However, Kat is forced to admit that she got rid of his computer console. But she promises to make it up to him by getting a new one. Meanwhile, Kathy is a rock to Harvey after another row at home. Thursday, March 6th. Nicola plays her trump card with Sharon to protect Barney and Teddy from the truth. After a frank conversation, Nicola is pleased to believe that she's finally gotten the situation under control. Later, Nicola and Teddy invite Sharon and Zach to join them for a family meal at Walford East. Kat finds it hard to cope with her emotions as Tommy settles back in at home. When Alfie comes in from a kick around with Tommy sporting an injury, Kat jumps to conclusions. Later, a row breaks out over the console, and Tommy loses his cool. Elsewhere, Harvey feels frozen out by the Slaters. EastEnders confirms who Barney Mitchell's real dad is, and it's unexpected. When Nicola Mitchell arrived in EastEnders, a small scene outside the pub confirmed she knows Zach Hudson. We learned they had a brief fling years ago, but their connection hasn't really been revisited since. In upcoming episodes though, Zach's whole world changes in a matter of moments as he discovers he's Barney's biological father. When the new week begins, Sharon Watts realizes Bianca Jackson knows her secret and tries to take control of the matter. But circumstances prevent her from speaking out. Following her failed attempt to come clean, Sharon talks to Zach about her secret, but then realizes someone has been listening into their conversation, which later turns out to be Barney. Wanting to protect his sister, Zach promises Sharon that he'll find a way to stop Barney from speaking out. He heads to Harry's barn to confront him, but their conversation takes a turn when the young lad starts bleeding from the wound he sustained during the Queen Vic explosion. At the hospital, Zach joins Nicola and Teddy Mitchell, but when a conversation about blood groups starts, Zach is suspicious and wonders if Nicola has been keeping a secret from him. After a conversation with the nurse, Zach confronts Nicola and asks if he's Barney's dad, and eventually, she says yes. Perhaps unexpectedly, Zach heads back to Walford and chooses to drown his sorrows in some booze. Struggling to take in the information. To make matters worse, Zach then receives a phone call from Whitney. But what does she want? Zach's life has changed forever, but without best friend Martin Fowler around for support. And Sharon clearly occupied with something else. Can he get through this alone?
Các bạn vừa theo dõi một sản phẩm của EastEnders Spoiler TV. Xin chào và hẹn gặp lại các bạn